PEDER is the brand new album from Lido. It just dropped this past Friday. So many great songs on there. And the artwork is really trippy. In fact, if you look at the album cover, Lido's face is in there somewhere. Here to give us some details on the making of it is one of the creatives behind it, Michael Drummond. And here to lead the conversation, our own Misha Vladimirsky of Filterless. Thank you both for your time.
Thanks, Pete. Michael, thanks for coming on the show. Love to chat with you about this really rad Lido cover. Well, how did the whole collaboration come about? How did the visuals happen?
Yeah. So I met Lido around this time last year. I was shooting BTS for the music video from the first single, How to Do Nothing. And I had just been brought on to shoot his Almost PEDER tour, which was a month-long tour last year to kind of just build up hype for this album drop. And it was an interesting context because the day that I met him, it was kind of like, hopefully you connect because you're about to be living together on a tour bus for a month and spending every second of every day together. But we hit it off and we collaborate really well together. I kind of focus on portraiture. So at the music video shoot, I brought some strobes and was shooting some portraits in between scenes. And yeah, I think there was just like a good creative connection right off the bat. And some images that I shot that first day became like his icon photo for all of his socials and things. And then the next day we took off for a month-long bus tour. And it was interesting timing because he was doing a little bit of rebranding surrounding his artistry in anticipation for this sophomore album. And, you know, it's a concept album. And so it was this unique time of sort of building a world with Lido and his team. And so when time came to start talking about the visuals for the album, they brought me on to shoot it, which I was, you know, really honored by and excited to kind of like bring to fruition all of these conversations that we had had over the last, you know, almost year.
Your team sent me the original artwork, which is him in water. Yeah. Is that actually him in water? Or is that a composite? Like how did that actually, like, what did that conversation look like? Hey, stick your head in this bucket. Like, what was the chat?
Yeah. So it was a journey. The kind of initial concept was like the image that you saw was Lido submerged in water. And his team had worked with an illustrator to kind of like flesh out this concept a bit. And when his management reached out to kind of talk details of what this would look like, they're like, okay, this is the image, you know, him coming out of water. We want to shoot it like in the next couple days. And from a more technical, practical standpoint, I'm just kind of trying to wrap my head around, are we going to be renting a sound stage that has a body of water in it? Are we going to try to go find a location like a lake or something? And ultimately, we landed on a pool shoot where I had like partially submerged seamless backdrop to kind of like remove the pool elements, you know, because we wanted it to be a little more ambiguous of where he is. So it's kind of nice that you were curious about that yourself. So yeah, we did the whole shoot in the pool, which, you know, I was joking with him was probably one of the chiller photo shoots that he had to do. He was just like, you know, laying back. And so, you know, it was this sort of slightly ambiguous concept, but that we wanted to play around with this idea of sort of kind of the audience being unsure of if he's becoming submerged, like is the water rising? Is he coming out of the water? So yeah, that was kind of like the initial concept.
How long did it actually take to shoot that? Like that frame, the one that becomes like the final artwork, was that the first frame or was it the last frame? Like, you know, a lot of the time we get that happening when it's photographer shooting.
Yeah, interesting question. that frame was actually pretty early on. It was probably within the first like half hour of shooting. We started, mid-afternoon and went well into the night. Wanted to kind of, the lighting, the setup, the feel, atmosphere, everything changed dramatically, starting kind of like high noon versus it being completely pitch black at night. I had gotten like a low-lying fog machine to kind of create some more atmosphere with it. So yeah, he was definitely pruny by the end of the shoot. Was probably in the body of water for like, 7 hours or something. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but it was a good one. It was a good team too.
When you're working with an artist, like, on their sophomore album, I don't know if you've done a bunch of these, but like album artwork and stuff, is it helpful that you've been on the road with them for a year and you know them well? Or is this like a thing where you know them so well now that it's actually been harder to create? Like, how do you usually work with people?
Yeah, I think that it always helps to know the artist personally. The kind of more you know their story and kind of the nuances of who they are, the more information you have. Some of that might not translate in the imagery, but as an artist myself, I always like to be conceptualizing every detail. And so the more that I know, I think the stronger the photos are going to be, especially with something like this, where it was a concept album, where he's, spent countless hours thinking through building this world. Every sound in the album has been so thoughtfully brought together, that to just give me a play-by-play like an hour before the shoot to be like, so this is it, it would have been a different image altogether.
That's rad. I'm glad that I got to see the original. It's always really fun to see like the thing that happens before the thing.
I know,
especially when it looks like it was done all in post-production, but in reality, like 90% of this cover is done, and 95% of the cover is done in real life.
For sure.
Really, but still through a camera and through. Super rad. Thanks for coming and time and chatting with us.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you. Thanks for having me.